The lights in the Capitol studio were blisteringly bright, so bright that even the thick makeup couldn't stop the sweat from glistening along Senator John Kennedy's brow. He blinked once, twice, then stared straight into the camera, past the lens, past the stage, into the dense unknown of the American audience. He could feel it, millions of people watching, waiting, and just across from him, with her signature poise and controlled fire, sat Nancy Pelosi. The moderator cleared his throat. Tonight, we bring you an unprecedented debate between two titans of the American political landscape. Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi and Senator John Kennedy, live, uncensored. John's mouth was dry, but his mind raced. He wasn't nervous, not exactly. No, he'd grown up around storms. Real storms. In Louisiana, hurricanes weren't metaphors. They ripped through towns, drowned dreams, scattered homes. And his father taught him early, when the wind comes, you either brace yourself or you fly away. Nancy Pelosi was a different kind of storm. Composed, experienced, legendary. At 85, she moved slower, but her mind razor sharp, and tonight she had a plan. But what no one knew, what no pollster, journalist, or strategist could have guessed, was that this night wouldn't just be a debate. It would become something else entirely, something raw, something unforgettable. The first few minutes were routine. Tax reform, border security, infrastructure. The two parried like seasoned fencers. Kennedy made jokes, his dry southern wit cutting through tension. Pelosi countered with facts, clipped and cold. The audience clapped politely, laughed where expected. Then came the question that cracked the mask. Senator Kennedy, the moderator, asked, "You've criticized Speaker Pelosi's tenure as elitist and out of touch. Care to clarify?" Kennedy leaned forward, eyes narrowing slightly. "Well, I'll say this, I think a mess. Pelosi's view of America stops somewhere around San Francisco Bay and doesn't quite stretch far enough into places where people pray before dinner and check weather before church." Polite laughter rippled through the studio. Nancy didn't smile. Instead, she turned, squarely facing him. "And in that second, everything changed. You know John," she said quietly. "I've walked through the rubble of broken cities after hurricanes. I've hugged mothers who lost children to gun violence. I've stood at gravesides for soldiers I sent to war. Don't lecture me about America. I've bled for this country." A silence fell over the room. The camera zoomed in slightly, catching the tremor in her lip that she quickly stifled. Kennedy shifted uncomfortably. He hadn't expected that, but it wasn't anger she radiated, it was pain. The kind that humbles, not destroys. The debate pivoted. From that moment on, it became less a clash of ideologies and more a battle of truths. Nancy spoke of growing up in Baltimore, the daughter of a congressman who taught her that power was responsibility, not privilege. She recounted losing close friends to AIDS in the 80s, fighting for funding when no one else would touch it. Her voice cracked when she spoke of her husband's recent health scare, the long nights in the hospital. Kennedy listened, really listened, and then, for the first time in his political life, he told his story. His brother had died of an overdose when John was just 22, a secret he had buried beneath humor and sarcasm for decades. He spoke about being ashamed of his own family, of his failure to see the signs, how it had shaped his entire view of addiction policy, how the war on drugs felt less like politics and more like penance. The moderator was stunned, so was the audience. For the first time, it wasn't two politicians duking it out. It was two human beings, broken in different ways, trying to explain how they'd spent their lives putting themselves back together, and in doing so, trying to hold the country together too. And yet, tension returned. When the topic of immigration came up, things got sharp again. Kennedy criticized the loopholes in policy. Pelosi snapped back about compassion. But underneath it all was a strange undercurrent of mutual respect. Even admiration, begrudging, maybe, but real. And then came the moment the internet would explode over. It started with a question neither of them expected. "Do either of you believe this country can heal?" The moderator hadn't planned it. It came out like a whisper, like something sacred. Nancy looked at Kennedy. Kennedy looked at Nancy. And then, in front of millions, she reached out and did something no one saw coming. She extended her hand. He looked down at it. The studio fell breathlessly quiet. "I think," she said slowly, "we have to start somewhere." Kennedy stared for a long beat, then took at his calloused fingers closing around her thin, liver-spotted hand. And the audience, in the studio and across the country, erupted not in applause, not in celebration, but in a kind of stunned collective exhale. The moment went viral in minutes. News outlets tried to spin it left, right, center, but what happened didn't fit a headline. It was something more human than that. But the story didn't end there. In the weeks that followed, Kennedy and Pelosi, though still political opposites, co-authored a bipartisan proposal on mental health funding. Quietly, no press release, just the work. And behind closed doors, in private calls and late-night sessions, they spoke about more than policy. They spoke about regret, about legacy, about what it meant to love a country that often seemed to be falling apart. There were rumors, of course, that it was staged, that it was strategy, that someone on a campaign team orchestrated the whole thing. But those who were there, the cameraman, the moderator, the makeup artists, they knew the truth. They'd seen the rawness. The silence that only comes when something real breaks through the noise. Months later, Kennedy gave a speech at a veterans hospital. He ended with this: "I used to think strength meant not bending, that compassion was weakness, that to win you had to beat the other side, but I was wrong. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is listen, and the bravest thing you can do is change." Nancy, watching from home, smiled quietly. And when a reporter later asked her about it, she simply said, "That night on stage wasn't about politics. It was about remembering that we're not enemies, we're people, and that if we try, we can still surprise each other. And maybe, just maybe, that's where healing begins, not with victory, but with understanding."